takes more than that to get rid of me.
Oh, don't we know it?
You bastard.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
My name is Rob Minot, and joining me today in the anti-gloom Zoom room, Mr. Ryan Fleury.
Hello again.
And Mr. Steve Barclay.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
I think I have a future as a game show host.
Apparently.
Actually, are game shows even a thing anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Are they?
Sure.
Jeez, I haven't watched a game show in a long time.
The whole network called the Game Show Network.
Really?
Yep.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have it?
I think we get it as part of our cable package. I don't remember, though.
Interesting. Do they show like old syndicated game shows? Because that would be fascinating.
Every once in a while I'll hear Family Feud on, but I think it's the current versions. It's not from the 80s.
Oh, damn it. Those are the ones you want. Where they have like the really inappropriate questions that would never float now.
I used to like the no whammy.
Wait, no whammy? What's that?
What show was that? Wasn't Let's Make a Deal? I don't remember, but there was a...
Oh, really? I don't remember that one. I don't remember like Tic-Tac-Doe. I like that one.
You heard Regis Philbin passed away, eh?
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire host. And
oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot he was
Regis
on that. I
and
forgot
Kathy
about
Lee.
that show. Yeah, Regis and Kathy Lee, yep. Yeah, wow. But Alex Trebek is still with us.
You betcha.
It looked pretty dicey there for a while, because didn't he have some sort of cancer, right?
He still does.
Yeah, he still does.
Yeah, well, geez, that's impressive, because usually you're a goner if you get that, but he's hanging in there.
Yep.
Who is a tough bastard? Answer, Alex Trebek. Come on, guys.
Oh,
come on,
I
guys.
see what you're doing now.
Work with me here, guys. I'm doing a show here.
Well, lucky for both of you, there is no show next week.
Uh-huh.
So
lucky for our listeners, too.
The show.
Just kidding. JK.
Pre-recorded show. Yes.
Don't tell them that. Don't show them the man behind the curtain.
All right, X-Nay on the pre-show.
That's right. No, it'll be all live. Coming at you.
Oz.
Hey, I noticed on Podbeam that there is a Podbeam live thing. And Ryan keeps bugging us about a live show. Maybe we should just say, screw it. 1 week, we'll just do it.
Yeah, and we can mute everybody, but we'll do a show. We'll have an audience that will open it up for questions after.
I don't think that's the way it works. I think Podbeam Live just means... Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into the back end and how that all works. I don't know if people are like joining a channel or if it just gets fed to. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to really talk about it intelligently, which I know doesn't usually stop us, but it'll stop you for the moment.
Recently got.
Man. Yeah, we did a show last week. We talked to the folks at National Captioning Canada, and they did a transcript for us for that show. And I realized real quickly that I sound even stupider when someone transcribes me.
Well, they do it verbatim, right? 'Cause I know. And I'm just like, oh, they didn't edit. It was like,
I know, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Who listens to us? So yeah, that's a whole nother level of editing there. It's hard enough when you have to edit yourself in an audio format, but man, try transcribing out what you say in a conversation, and it's a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Hey Ryan.
Rob.
What the heck are we doing today?
Today we are speaking with some social media icons. Well, I consider them icons, or they're attaining icon status in my books. Hannah and Emilee Schevers from Tru Faces.
Oh, yes. Well, they're TikTok stars. So, and to us old guys, TikTok is very, very exotic. We don't understand TikTok, and it's a little bit scary. So, yes, anyone who's mastered the art of TikToking, I imagine that's what the term is, TikToking.
I had a clock that was a master of it when I was a kid.
See, that's how old you are, Steve.
I've been curious to check it out. I know even though we did a show on it, more and more people are jumping on TikTok and posting stuff. So I've been very curious to check it out, but I just don't know.
It's going to get banned soon, let's be honest. I think
probably.
Yeah. Anyways. I'm excited. What they've been doing is a real testament to, I think, one of like youth and youthful energy, but also like people in the community that are stepping up and creating their own communities. It's really amazing what they've managed to build so far, fairly early on. And it'll be real interesting to talk to them and see how it all started and where it's all going.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. When I was 17 years old, like Emilee was when they started this, I was doing nothing with my life.
Yeah. Oh God, I wasn't doing anything in my life until I was in my 30s. What are you talking about? 17. Yeah. Oh my God, I don't even know what I was doing when I was 17.
Yeah, it blows my mind what kids are doing nowadays.
God, I'm actually fairly relieved that we didn't have social media when I was that age. Because, boy, I would not want a lot of my activities or pictures or anything online at all. Like, those have all been burned and destroyed. So
you think so?
I do. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. You've got friends out there who probably have pictures that have posted them somewhere.
I'm a little concerned about some of the photos that might be out there. I'm pretty sure I have no political career as a result of that.
Well, at least people would have to see. I'm sure you're probably right. There's probably dirt out there. I'm not putting it out there to anybody who I may have gone to high school with to listen to the show, which is probably zero anyways. But do not send in any pictures or anything like that or stories. But at least with us, you'd have to dig for
not
it.
To him. Don't send them to him. Send them to me.
But they'd have to dig for them. Nowadays, like when you're 17, you're doing something stupid, it's all over social media. It's there forever, kids. So that's my advice to all the younger generation that is listening to this podcast. Stop it. Just stop. It's going to follow you forever. And when you're in your 30s, it's going to matter.
I'm going to reach out to the elementary and high schools in Mackenzie and see if they send me a yearbook.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. I dare you. No, I don't dare you, actually, because there actually may be people listening.
They're probably online. You know that, right?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the status of Mackenzie is these days. I know they've got a subway. I heard a few years ago that they managed to get a subway. So who knows? They might have internet hookups there now. Who knows?
Yes, indeed.
Anyways, I digress. Okay, where were we? So guess what? It was just recently.
National Paint Chip Awareness Week.
Oh, really? No, I did not know that.
Well, I just made that up. So.
Well, you know what? It could be. Why don't we just make today National Paint Chip Awareness Day? Because why not? Everybody else has a day.
Why not?
I want to know what the process is. How do we get a day? Because paint chips are sorely underrepresented.
When is National Podcast Day?
I don't know. Hopefully it's the day after Talk Like a Pirate Day. That's the sweet spot. That's where you want it. Or maybe the day after Talk Like a Pirate Day, because otherwise it'd be too much. If you had to talk like a pirate and then you actually had to appreciate all your favorite podcasts, it might be a little bit too much for 1 week. Okay, we might be overthinking that. Anyways, hey, no. What it was last week was the 30th anniversary of the ADA.
Oh, right, yeah.
Right? 30 years. So there you go. And what's our little ACA is what, a year old now? Is it a year old yet?
Yeah, probably close to that.
Yeah. So there you go. Fledgling little piece of legislation.
That nobody's talking about.
Not really anymore. We certainly don't hear too much about it, do we? But I mean, I guess, granted, I mean, I feel a little bad for the ADA. It's kind of like, I don't know, all those kids whose birthday fall on Christmas, when the sense that their 30th anniversary fell in the middle of a pandemic and a complete, national catastrophe. So they probably have bigger fish to fry at the moment. So it's probably not getting the attention that maybe it should. But it was interesting. I was reading an article that Ryan sent over about the 30th anniversary, and just how a lot of people are sort of saying that, it's really about time that the legislation really stepped into the digital accessibility world and really start stepping up the idea of digital accessibility, especially these days. And I have to say, I kind of agree with that.
Well, and I hope with the ACA, that we can learn from the progress the ADA has made and kind of get there quicker.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I think that I think that as a country we can probably learn a lot looking to the south and seeing some mistakes that are being made there that we can try to avoid up here. But it's certainly one of the things I think that even though the legislation, both the ADA in the States and the ACA here, the idea of digital accessibility falls within the scope of both. They're not specifically addressed, and I think that that's the really big problem with the ADA, is that the legislation is so old that digital accessibility wasn't really a pressing issue at the time. But of course, the wording of the document itself, digital accessibility falls into that. But I think that, you need specifics, especially these days when they're still fighting over the accessibility of different websites. I think that having something, a clause in there that amends it to specifically talk about digital accessibility certainly couldn't hurt. Can I get an amen?
Hallelujah.
Okay, that was overachiever. Just asked for an amen. Give me a hallelujah.
Amen. Hi everyone, this is Steve from Canadian Assistive Technologies, and this is a shameless plug. We've been working hard to find less expensive Braille products so we can make Braille available for more people. We can now say that we have Canada's most comprehensive lineup of inexpensive Braille solutions, including the 20-cell Braille Me from InnoVision, the soon-to-be-released 40-cell Orbit Braille display from Orbit Research, as well as the world's least expensive multi-line Braille reader, the Canute from Bristol Braille. You can have a look at them all on our website at www.canastech.com.
Joining us now are Hannah and Emilee Schevers from Tru Faces.
Hi guys, it's Emilee and Hannah here.
Hey.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for taking some time out and chatting with us. I don't recall where we came across you guys. I think it might have been on the CNIB website.
Nope.
Okay, fine. Where did we?
CNIB actually posted something on Twitter about Hannah and Emilee, and I went stalking.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was the same post that was on Twitter and Facebook and maybe even Instagram. So it is potential that you did see the same thing at different places.
No, it's wrong.
Shit. Yeah, he likes proving me wrong.
That's
well,
right.
Listen, regardless of where we found you guys, we were instantly intrigued, and we wanted to learn more about you guys. And we always like using the podcast as a platform to sort of spread the word of some very worthy causes. And I think what you guys are doing with Tru Faces certainly applies. So, but before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about you guys and just get a little bit of a snapshot of who you guys are. So, how old are you guys?
It's Emilee speaking. I'm 18.
And I am 15.
And now, where do you guys live?
We're just from the Peterborough area out in Ontario.
And how big of a place is Peterborough?
80,000, but we're in a very small town outside of it.
Interesting. And that will I want to sort of follow up on that question a little bit later, because certainly that's got to be a little bit difficult being in such a rural area. So, but before we get into that, and now, can you describe for us what your eye conditions are?
Yeah, it's Emilee again. I have cone dystrophy, so basically I have light sensitivity, no color vision, 20/200, so not really good distance either.
It's Hannah. I have golden hair syndrome, which has caused me to be visually impaired, hearing impaired, and have a facial difference.
So, talk to us a little bit about what that was like with the conditions growing up in such a small town.
It was a lot of, like, everybody knew pretty much that, like, I know for me, like, everybody knew that I couldn't see and that I had to sit at the front of the classroom and that don't throw objects at Emilee because she won't see them, kind of thing.
Yeah, it was also, we were both lucky because, you know, we're sisters, so we could relate to each other's difficulties, but being in such a small area, we didn't know anybody else in our community that had a disability like us.
Yeah, see, it's interesting because here in BC, a lot of people sort of run into those issues. BC is such a big province, and there are a lot of small remote communities all spread out, and it can be really challenging for somebody who has, say, visual impairment, because they don't have access to sort of the resources that people who live in the larger city centers do. What kind of resources did you guys have access to in Peterborough, if any?
We have, like, a very small CNIB that basically just does, like, O&M and some life skills, but nothing that you can really, like, go to or where you can interact with other people and, like, meet people, so no real social aspects. We have a tandem biking club, which I think is our main kind of social activity for those with vision loss and kind of biggest kind of thing. I know we do a little bit with CCB too, but that's about it. There's not a whole lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ryan, and I'm totally blind myself. And, you know, I lost my sight. I was living in a smaller center. Kamloops at the time was about 75,000 people. Again, had a satellite CNIB office that did, you know, O&M once a month, some Braille skills. But, you know, we really didn't have a tandem cycling club. You know, people said I could get involved in curling. But again, most of the major services either came out of Kelowna or Vancouver. So, you know, I can understand, you know, your difficulties and
yeah. And then even to get to Peterborough, it's a half an hour drive from where we actually live.
Right.
Wow.
So it's not even like you could, like, take a city bus to get there or anything. We have to get a ride from somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, so that can be a real challenge. So what kind of things did you guys do growing up together to sort of, you know, offset that? Did you guys just sort of make up games, or like what kept you busy, or what really drew your interest growing up?
We were really thankful that where we do live, we have a lot of outside space. So that was really helpful in being able to keep us busy at home, which has also been helpful now in the current times. But we were always able to go outside and play and do things that, like we weren't going to go really play, like, soccer and stuff, but we could, like, pass a ball back and forth, like, in a more safer kind of environment. And we have, you know, like, the swings and trampoline and all that.
Mm-hmm. For me, growing up, I definitely tried a lot of different sports like gymnastics and soccer, but none of them really worked out in the long run, which might have partially have to do with my vision, as I have pretty good vision, but not as good as everyone else, so it was definitely challenging to find an activity that was accessible to me that I enjoyed doing.
So what you need is you need your dad to set up a bumper car track in your backyard.
Yeah.
Then he can come do one in my backyard.
New business idea?
Right?
Absolutely.
Bumper cars for the blind.
So let's talk a little bit about your parents. Were they really supportive of you guys just trying whatever kind of interested you, or were they a little bit cautious, or how was that kind of environment growing up?
I think they were absolutely supportive the entire way. If I came to them and was like, I want to try this, they're like, yeah, sure. I mean, I was like, I'm going to try dance. And I tried soccer until I got hit in the face a couple times. And they're like, yeah, maybe this isn't the best thing for you. But pretty much anything that I was like, I want to do it, they were absolutely like, yeah, you can try it. And then when you get hurt and don't like it, that's on you.
Yeah, I think that they were very supportive, but at the same time, like they, it was they had never really known about how to raise children with disabilities. So it's always that, kind of experimental thing of like, they don't know how to always make activities accessible for us. And so they kind of just maybe tried to raise us like normal children, but kind of just worked with it with us as we were growing up.
And do you find that really kind of had an impact later on, like your attitudes now? Because, honestly, you guys both seem to have such a positive outlook and sort of a fearless attitude. Do you think that that's kind of what helped inform that?
I do think it absolutely helped that we weren't like bubble children. Like they were like, oh, they can't see. Like, don't make them like, don't do these things. I think the fact that they just let us do it definitely had an impact on us being like so positive and fearless, like that, having not as much like, I guess, fear of like doing things because we have disabilities. Like,
well, it's such an important attitude too, because you can't, you can't be, you don't want to be afraid of failing at something. You mean, try it. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Move on to something else. And because you never know what's going to take.
That was absolutely the attitude. It was, you try it. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. If it did work, it did.
So let's talk a little bit about Tru Faces. How did it all start up?
For the most part, it started with one day I just had an idea and I went to Hannah and I said, hey, do you want to do this? And she said no. And then probably a couple months later, she came back and she's like, you know what? Yeah, this is actually not a horrible idea. We just sat down in our rooms and we started an Instagram page and we're like, let's just kind of see where this goes. We'll just kind of create a platform where we can do kind of what we wanted to and kind of build that sense of community and the education side of things. And I think for the most part, it was about meeting other people who were like us.
Yeah, and I don't think that we ever actually imagined that we would be as successful as we are today and, reach out to so many people as we have.
Well, and that's the real positive aspect of social media and these days is that it does give anybody a voice, and that voice can really take hold if it's the right message at the right time, I think. So, okay, so you started up the Instagram channel. Was there an immediate reaction? Like, did you get a lot of followers right away, or did it take a while to build?
There was an initial little kind of boom at the beginning because I started it promoting on like my personal page and stuff, and I'm already connected to a lot of individuals with disabilities, so there was an initial like, oh, this is really cool, and then from there it just kind of started to gradually grow, and as we interact with more people and share more stories and then they share on their page, it's just a constant outreach and gaining a larger community.
And so did it initially just start on Instagram and then you slowly dialed in some of the other social media channels, or how did that work? And was it planned?
Yeah, it definitely just started on Instagram because that was, I guess, the platform that we were kind of most familiar with, and we just said, okay, let's start here. And then I think probably when we hit like 200, 300 people when following us, and we're like, hey, this is something that like is actually like gaining a little bit of like speed, and it's kind of growing so much that we're like, and we really started to invest our time in it. That's when we grew to a Facebook and just recently a Twitter and creating a website for it, and then eventually getting t-shirts.
Well, so before we go too far down deeper, we should actually explain to the audience, in case anyone doesn't know yet, what is Tru Faces and what was it sort of built to do? What's its goals?
I mean, the cookie cutter explanation is Tru Faces is a community for individuals with disabilities where they can come and share their stories and educate about disability awareness and connect with others who are facing similar challenges. That's the cookie cutter answer. But it really was just a platform for where Hannah and I could express who we were and meet those other people, make those connections, and educate about disability awareness, and kind of have somewhere where we could just kind of be true to ourselves and put ourselves out there for people, share our positive attitude.
See, and that's amazing to me. And I mean, you know, the fact that you guys are so young, like I think my big accomplishment when I was like 17 or 18 was like, I think I managed to make spaghetti without burning down the house. And that was really about it. So kudos to you guys for, you know, not only doing something that's sort of true to yourselves, but something that's so important to so many people all over the world. And that's the other real benefit of social media, is that you can really touch and talk to people and open up discussions with people all over the world. Do you find that there's sort of a cluster of folks in your area or in this country, or like where are people sort of reaching out to you guys from?
People have been reaching out from all across the world, let me tell you. I think that's the coolest part about this, is that we have met people who are like in Germany and New Zealand and different parts of the US, different parts of Canada. Like, we just get the most random kind of places where people just kind of have stumbled across our page and they're like, hey.
That's a real benefit to where we are with social media and sort of the global village of the internet. And it's something that's sort of unique to this generation as well. You know, we're a bunch of old guys over here. So, you know, we remember a time when, you know, like the phone, like there had like this weird dial on it that you had to like,
and it was attached to the wall.
It was attached to the wall. That's right. It's crazy, right?
Oh.
But so, you know, a lot of people, you know, didn't have, these channels, these social channels to sort of build these communities. And it's so important. And I feel like it's really causing, you know, your generation to really be able to connect and really generate a sense of positivity and energy that I think going forward is going to be so important for the disability community in general. Which is, you know, again, this sort of, you know, it informs to why we really wanted to have you guys on the show and talk about Tru Faces and sort of spread the word about it, because you know, especially given the times that we're in right now, it's more important than ever. Now, talk to me a little bit about your guys' hobbies. What do you guys like to do when you're not running Tru Faces?
It's Hannah. Hobbies. Okay, yeah. I like to play some tennis in my spare time, and which is always interesting because, you know, it's a smaller green ball, but I manage. And I also really like to draw some fashion designs too.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's Emilee. I'm really also into sports. I play goalball and compete in tandem cycling. I also enjoy some drawing and painting.
Yeah, I had to chuckle a little bit, Emilee, when I think it was you that said you like to draw even though you can't see what you're drawing or coloring. It was like
that sounds about right. I just color with random colors since I'm colorblind. It's just, apparently some days they work.
Now, I did read in the bio that you guys went to the W. Ross McDonald School for the Blind.
Yeah, we both went for short-term programs for about 3 years, and then I just this past year actually went for a victory lap so that I had the opportunity to kind of work on some additional O&M skills and life skills. I got to live in an apartment by myself kind of thing.
So talk to me a little bit about what that experience was like for you guys. Because prior to that, obviously, I guess you were just in your regular school. How did that really sort of change your perspective and your experiences?
Yeah, that definitely had a big impact on us, because I think that was the first time that we really got to meet kids with disabilities and visual impairments that were our age specifically. And we definitely made a lot of friends there that we, have been able to keep in touch with and stuff. And that really gave us some friendships and, a good safe space, I'd say.
I think that was one of the main reasons that we actually created Tru Faces, because once we had that connection with people our age who had vision loss and were facing similar challenges as us, we really wanted to give others that opportunity to kind of be able to reach out and meet people that were like them.
I'm going to ask the loaded question that I've been waiting to answer since you said you lived in an apartment at the school there. So was this your first time being away from home and having to cook, clean, kind of look after the day-to-days for yourself? Or do you do that at home as well?
I definitely had a lot of experience doing that at home, like cleaning and cooking meals. Our mom was an accountant, so there was many days and my dad worked nights, so there was many nights where it was just me and Hannah, and we kind of were on a fend for ourselves. And then I also worked at a camp, and I lived there. I wasn't like cooking my own meals, but I was still like basically taking care of myself. But this was the first time that I was cooking for myself. I was cleaning the apartment. I was managing my own schedule, and I was basically responsible for everything. And it was definitely an amazing experience and opportunity that I had. I was sad when it got cut short because of COVID and all that when we got shut down, but it was definitely a good little bit.
So have you told your parents you're leaving home yet?
Yes.
And Hannah's going with you?
No, Hannah had a huge smile on her face like, yeah, I'm kicking my sister out.
So what's your favorite part of what you've built with Tru Faces?
I think just the fact that although Tru Faces has helped a lot of other people meet people like them, it's also helped us connect with new people. Like for me, through Tru Faces, I met somebody with the same condition as me for the first time, and that was a really cool thing to find out. And I think just, meeting more and more people through online that are, again, very far away.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that Hannah's kind of touched on. Like, just it is that whole connection and meeting other people aspect, because I mean, some of our conditions are so rare, you're like, there's no way I'm ever going to meet anybody who has the same thing, and then all of a sudden you do.
Right. Now, you guys also have a YouTube channel that is chock full of content as well. What do you really enjoy about that act of content creation? Do you personally get things out of it? Or is
I think our YouTube is definitely more for us. It's not a huge following on YouTube or anything. We're definitely not YouTube famous or anywhere close. I think it is a lot just more for us, where we can go and be a little silly and do some tie-dye or touch on those kind of more important educational topics. And it's a little bit of sister bonding along the way. We've kind of just done some things together that have really brought us a little bit closer.
Yeah, and the people that do follow us on YouTube, I think, get to see or get to learn more about who we are as people.
Yeah, and I do feel like that can be a really important component of it, because the education piece of all this is really important. It's important for people who able-bodied people to sort of be able to realize that what the life of somebody who has a visual impairment, or any disability for that matter, what their day-to-day life is, and how it really doesn't necessarily differ in all that great a way to their own life. And it helps them, it helps create that connection, but also create this sense of learning about the different aspects of day-to-day life. What really struck me, Emilee, was I watched the video where you got your e-sight, which is like a low vision, like a head-worn low vision aid, and and your reaction to that. And I want to talk a little bit about that because we kind of do talk a lot about assistive technology here. But I mean, it was such obviously a powerful and a personal experience for you to document, and it was really powerful to watch. Can you talk a little bit about that particular video and getting the e-sight and what that was like to use it?
Yeah, I think that video was definitely had everything in it. It was everything from the unboxing to the wearing to the just kind of figuring out how it worked. It included everything from my excitement to my confusion to my happy almost tears, because it was such a cool thing to be able to simulate the experience of being able to see more than just like a foot in front of me. Being able to sit 6 feet away from my computer and see what's on the screen, and to just kind of see everything in a little bit more detail than I normally would. And it was definitely a neat little toy to play with everything from, oh, look, now I can look at everything in inverted colors. Just kind of, there was a little bit of a fun aspect to it too, as well as the importance of getting it out to people. And I think the video had the aspect of like my experience, but then I also feel like it had the education of telling people that this device was kind of out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what we find too with whenever we talk about assistive technology, is that part of the problem is that, it's getting the word out there that these devices are there, because a lot of people don't really necessarily know about it.
And so, Emilee, I think I also read that you use Zoom on your iPhone. And Hannah, do you use any sort of assistive technology?
I just use the accessibility shortcuts on Apple. I typically prefer if there's a dark mode for something, or sometimes inverted colors are typically the way I go. I also use larger print on my devices, and that's it.
Right.
Nothing too extreme, like extra software, more just using the magnifications that are built into laptops and devices.
Right.
So what's in the future for Tru Faces? What are you guys planning?
Right now, I think the only thing that is in the works is we're working with CNIB to be on the CNIB market that is coming out to sell some shirts potentially. But otherwise, I think moving forward, we're just going to kind of see where it takes us, especially with me moving away to college in September. Hannah and I aren't going to be together as much, so the YouTube might slow down a little bit. I think the Instagram will stay steady with features and whatnot, but as well, we're also always open to doing some educational aspects, hopefully again in person soon. But we've been doing some Zoom meetups with our I was gonna call them followers, but I guess just our community, where we've gotten to interact with them and doing some Instagram lives and just kind of keeping those connections.
So I have to ask, what's the plan? What are you taking in college?
I'm taking early childhood education. So it's a 2-year program, and I am moving to campus, even under the circumstances, and all classes will be virtual. So that'll also be an experience.
Wow. Yeah. And Hannah, what about you? I know it's a little early, but do you have any plans for after school? What are you thinking?
Right now, I'm actually, the thing that is most of interest to me is fashion at this point, so I may be looking at that for now, but I still have 2 more years of high school, so things could definitely change.
We need some AT Banter t-shirts or sweatshirts, so...
Yes.
Come on, I just ordered cowbells.
I can tell you our most commented thing about our t-shirts is that they're extremely soft, so
really,
apparently that's an important aspect.
Listen, it is. Do never, Guys, what were remember we interviewed
The two blind brothers?
Yes. Yeah, they had bamboo. They had bamboo fabric. It was apparently very, very soft.
It is very soft. I can attest. We have two blind brothers clothing.
Oh, look at that.
The only other question I had, you have a 21-part series on TikTok. Can you tell us a little bit about what that?
Yes. So I posted a random video with a random audio. It wasn't mine or anything, but I kind of showed my cane in it, and all of a sudden it had a couple thousand views and a bunch of comments with people asking stuff about low vision and visual impairment. So then I started answering these questions. And then on the videos where I answered questions, people were asking more questions. So I began to answer everyone's questions, and it turned into a 21-part series on TikTok about visual impairments. And a lot of people asked how I read the comments. I think there was more than 100 people who asked that.
Yeah, it's interesting, because it sounds like TikTok was the platform that just kind of exploded for you. I know your Instagram followers are going up, and you've got a lot of people writing testimonies and contributing there as well.
See, there you go, Ryan. We got to get you on TikTok, my friend.
And I also think the thing with TikTok is, especially because in our Instagram lives, we are very connected to the disability community, that there's not so many questions about our visual impairments because there's a lot of people who are kind of living it. So they they know they're more connecting on like, oh my God, I relate to that basis, as opposed to like, oh, I want to know this basis. But when I went to TikTok, it wasn't anything specific. It was just a bunch of random people, and a lot of them weren't from the disability community, who were asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah, you just never know where people are actually going to find you or be interested in, your topic of choice. And just you replying to people, you never know whose lives you're touching. So, kudos for what you're doing, and your passion for the community is great.
For sure. Well, and even, you teach one able-bodied person something about, what it's like to be visually impaired, and it's a win, right? Like one person that didn't know what a screen reader was before now knows or understands now what that accessibility button on their iPhone actually means. It's a win. So
yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner.
That's correct. Well, listen, guys, thanks so much for taking some time out and chatting with us. We wish you the best of luck with Tru Faces, and of course, with college in September for sure. Listen, come back on anytime. Anytime you have something you want to talk about, you're always welcome.
Yep.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a good rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
Okay, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Order a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're definitely going to be cheaper than the two Blind Brothers shirts were.
Oh, no kidding. Those things were pricey, especially by the time they got here.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, listen, maybe these t-shirts are just as soft.
Maybe.
And they're only $20.
We'll just have to find out.
That's right. We'll have to order some. Nah, but it's always great. I love talking to the next generation because they have so much energy. They have so much positivity, and with things like social networks, they're just able to reach out and create these communities so much easier than ever before. And I really think it's going to make a difference in this next generation. Can I get an amen?
Hey, Ben. Hallelujah.
That's right. So is a W. Ross McDonald, is that like a what kind of?
It's a residential school.
Okay. There isn't really anything like that out here, is there?
No, we used to have Jericho.
Yeah, it's long gone.
Huh.
The only places they have that now are Ontario and Nova Scotia, I believe.
Huh. So, it's a little bit of and this is getting off topic, but isn't there a little bit of a pros and cons to that sort of idea? Like, wasn't there some pushback against the idea of residential schools and separating out, blind and visually impaired youth?
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that factored into that There used to be residential schools all across the country, and a lot of them got shut down. Part of the reason for it was that there was a real push for mainstreaming, and they thought the students would socialize better if they were in the mainstream environment rather than being in segregated environments.
And I mean, I guess it's if you have resources like, say, CNIBs and stuff that are able to do those sort of like independent living skills and all those, and Braille, like learning Braille and stuff. I guess in a perfect world, if you had that there was easy access to, then you wouldn't really need something like a residential school. But as we well know, those services aren't necessarily all that easy to get when you need them.
No, they're not.
Especially in more rural areas. But I digress. Well, then, what time it is then?
Margarita time?
Ooh, don't we wish. It's margarita time somewhere. Sure. In Margaritaville. No, it is time for Ryan to tell me, where can people find us?
They can find us online.
What happened there? Did you just synapses just like
something misfired
it's
there?
a glitch in the matrix.
A little brain blip.
Yeah, no kidding.
Reboot myself here.
Okay.
All right. They can find us online at www.atbanter.com.
That's correct, sir. They can also drop us an email if they so desire at cowbell@atbanter.com.
And if they're really, really into us in a big bad way, they can also stalk us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Please stalk us, please.
And I have to say,
we need stalkers.
And I have to bring this up because we've been putting it off for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Yeah.
Back from vacation, we have to draw for one of these hockey jerseys.
Okay.
We told people like a month ago we were doing it like in 2 weeks, and we haven't done it.
Okay.
So I'll send you guys the emails we have received, and then we'll just draw a name.
Okay. Deal.
Alrighty.
We'll do it. Okay. Well, that is going to do it for us this week. Thanks everybody for listening in, and we will see everybody next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canastech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com.